Oh, hey there. You're watching or listening to Scary Ideas episode 10. We made it to episode 10, dude. Man, that was a lot of work, dude. Anyway, if you would like to be a featured guest on this podcast, visit facebook.com/scaryideaspod. That's all you have to do. Just go there. Oh, that's not all you have to do. Sorry, I spoke too soon. You have to go to that URL, that website, and then you have to send the page a message. Send it a message saying that you would like to be on, because we would love to have you on if you are an expert or just passionate about a scary idea that you think would be appropriate for this show. This week's topic is black privilege. It's like white privilege, but for black people. This is a very controversial topic, especially if you're black and think it's real. I'm just a white guy, so no one cares what I think, but we will be diving into this topic for the whole fucking episode. Unless it gets boring, then I'll just start talking about incels. I could do that at I could talk about incels every week. Anyway, so black privilege. Let's start with what I think it is, and then we'll go into what the internet says it is, and then maybe we'll get into what a caller has to say about it. So it's basically the opposite of white privilege. Like, white privilege is where white people have privilege based on whiteness. And if you believe in that, then you probably have to believe in other forms of racial privilege, because what are the odds that only one of them exists? Like, one type of racial privilege exists. There's many races, right? Why would it only exist for one of them? I just don't think it would work that way. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's possible that in reality there's only white privilege and nothing else. So, but I don't really know if I believe in white privilege or black privilege or any privilege that's based on race. But that sounds like a fucking blanket statement that's probably untrue. Of course, there's some things you could call privilege that are based on race, I think. Otherwise, there'd be no one would believe in white. I mean, so what people call white privilege, we could get into that. There's a Wikipedia article on that. Like, that's a very, it's less controversial to say that white privilege exists. It's called white privilege or white skin privilege. So it's just basically, it's based on your skin color alone. Which implies that you don't have to actually be Caucasian to have it. You just have to have white skin. So if you're like technically not white, but just have very white colored, light skin or whatever, and pass as white, that's all it takes to have white privilege. Anyway, that's just me clarifying for people who don't know anything about what this is, which, I mean, come on, everyone knows about what. No kids listen to this. I mean, I don't know. People just kind of accept that white privilege is a thing in the mainstream culture that I'm around, especially in the comedy scene of Chicago. People kind of just take it as a universal truism that white people have it easier and that black people have it harder, or that just people of color have it harder than white people. And so anyway, it's a societal privilege that benefits white people over non-white people, particularly if they are otherwise under the same social, political, or economic circumstances. That's important because that means that you could be fucking poor and a douchebag, because it said social, so you could be a dirtbag, poor person, and still qualify for the white privilege thing. So that's I'd like to. So let's see if there's any examples of that. Academic perspectives such as critical race theory and whiteness studies use the concept to analyze how racism and racialized societies affect the lives of white or white-skinned people. There's a lot of things in that sentence that I don't know about, like whiteness study, like critical race theory. Like I might have heard of that, but what the fuck does that mean? It's a hypothetical framework in the social sciences that uses critical theory. Oh, well, now I have to know what that is. We're already getting on a tangent, off a tangent. We're on 2 tangents, Pat. No, we're on 3 tangents beyond the main idea. But sometimes you have to do that, because I didn't do any research for this. You know how much prep I put into this podcast? About 2 hours before it starts. Every week I put 2 hours of prep into this, and mostly that's just making sure my computer turns on and that it's not overheated and that the streaming software works. I don't do any research beforehand, so we're going to learn. So what's critical theory? I think you kind of have to know what that is before you know what this is. So critical theory is the reflective assessment and critique of society and culture by applying knowledge from the social sciences and the humanities. Now we're getting into this Jordan Peterson, the stuff that he hates. Critical theory has origins in sociology and also literary criticism. So books, no, that's evaluating books, motherfucker. It doesn't mean the books are the... Okay. So anyway, some sociologist described it as critical insofar. What does that word mean? Insofar? Insofar. I did not know that was a word. Insofar. As it seeks to liberate human beings from the circumstances that enslave them. Okay. Critical theory. I still don't know what the fuck this means. So in political philosophy, the term critical theory describes the Western Marxist philosophy. Okay, now we really are. This is really what fucking Jordan Peterson talks a lot of shit about. He hates Marxism. So anyway, it describes the Western Marxist philosophy of the Frankfurt School, which was developed in Germany. Okay, I still don't know what the fuck it is, though. So what is it? But not to stress the intellectual lineage. Okay, that's where it came from. And then postmodern critical theory. So this is like a very bad article to read if you've never heard of this before, because I don't know. I still don't know what the fuck this means. So let's go to critical race theory. To examine society and culture as they relate to categorizations of race, law, and power. Still very vague. So it started in the 80s about race issues. It's loosely unified by 2 common names. So it proposes that white supremacy and racial power are maintained over time, and in particular that the law may play a role in this process. Second, CRT work has investigated the possibility of transforming the relationship. Well, this is basically where they base. It's like the smart way of... It's like what the intellectuals use to back the concept that white privilege is based on, maybe? I don't know. That's where the academia comes from, for such as this. And also whiteness studies. That's interesting. What's white? So there's studies on whiteness. It's interdisciplinary. It's an arena of inquiry. And it's focused on the historical, cultural, and sociological aspects of people identified as white. Well, yeah, that's vague. So studying aspects of people that are white. Interesting. So is there blackness studies? I don't know. It's weird how whiteness is just is this like big ominous umbrella term thing that basically is like evil. Like it basically just sounds like this thing is evil. Schools of thought, critical whiteness, critical. So the critical whiteness studies, that's a fancy term to describe examining if it's okay to be white, I think. Because it says moral implications of whiteness. That's a fancy way of saying if it's okay. What are the what does this mean to be white? Is it okay? I don't know. That's basically what people say on the on YouTube. They say it's okay to be white. It's okay to be white. All right, we got our first caller. Hey there, how's it going there? Thanks for calling in. What's your name?
What's up, Tim? It's Joe, man.
Yeah, cool, man. Thanks for calling. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. To be honest with you, I'm like to let you know how prepared I am to dive in deep about this. I fucking woke up like 30 minutes ago from a nap.
I mean, I like to ask people the day of, 2 hours before it starts, pretty much, and that's how I do it. So it's fine if you're not prepared, because I'm even less prepared because I didn't do any research about this topic. And
that's good. I feel like that is critical to really have a productive discussion about race. Just two parties come in, no research done, just like go purely on emotions and ideas.
Well, don't worry, because it's only on Facebook, and nothing dramatic ever happens there. So
that's true.
So
that's
we're safe.
True. I think we're in a good spot.
Yeah, it takes
it's
balls.
Not like it's fucking Tumblr or something, you know?
Like I posted this where I normally post it, but I said that the topic of the night is black privilege. And somebody said, this sounds like a terrible idea. They commented that.
It is. It's weird because like when I saw that too, like when you posted it, it's kind of like one of those things was like, oh boy. but these are the conversations like we should be having. It's just like it's ironic in that way where it's we should be talking about this type of shit. But then as soon as someone's like, all right, let's talk about it, everyone like clams the fuck up and is like, nah, dude, actually, I really don't want to talk about that type of shit.
Yeah, and I like if I posted that it was about white privilege, no, they wouldn't have given a fuck. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, talk about white privilege. Yeah, great, go for it. Like
I think it's because they're concerned on you having like someone who can give you like a black perspective on the show, and I'll do the best I can. I sure hope Stephen Curry calls in. If you're out there, Stephen.
He actually said he might be able to. He's at a wedding though.
Oh my God, that is the most un-black excuse to get out of some shit.
Yeah, he's in Ohio.
Like, I got court, homie. I can't really, I can't fucking be responsible for calling in. No, I don't, because it's weird. Like, I mean, I'll give my perspective on it. I don't know, anyone who doesn't know what I look like I'm like half black and half white, so like my perspective is constantly being discredited. So
and
it's whatever. But
you call yourself, at least on stage, I think I've seen you call yourself racially ambiguous.
Yes, yeah. And honestly, I feel like I am really in a true sense where like people kind of normally think I'm like some sort of Latino or something, and like I don't necessarily come off as black. Like there are like Obama comes off as like black, like he's half white, half black, but he looks black. Like you just kind of like, all right,
yeah.
But I don't necessarily have that, so it's kind of like an extra hurdle, I guess, when it comes to like convincing people that it's like, yeah, I'm black, but I don't really know how to prove it to you. I guess if you don't believe me, you don't believe me.
And that kind of touches on a different subject altogether, but related, is about racial gatekeeping. That's how I've put it, is where people don't count you as the race that you identify as. They do not allow you to identify yourself, or at least they don't acknowledge it the same way. That's how I look at it. Because we were talking about this the other night off air, We were having a very open, honest conversation that you can't really have in public, but you can if you're brave, I think. So,
Right. Yeah, no, that was a good conversation, man. I appreciate it. I feel like we've had like a couple of these type of conversations off air. And honestly, I feel like you're like a cool dude to talk to this type of stuff about, cuz like you don't necessarily like you're not coming at it from a like an agenda or like having any kind of agenda. And I'm certainly not. So like I don't like it's just interesting to talk about this type of shit cuz like I never really thought about it before, you know, but or at least thought to put it like in language, but you know, like that racial gatekeeping stuff, because it is, I don't know, cause it's weird when you start talking about that type of shit because it's not like it's like a specific group of people or whatever, or like a specific like people you can like there's like black people don't have like a leader per se, where it's like I mean Jesse Jackson's supposed to be that, but he's not really. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? Like he's just some fucking dude out there, and who like white people come to when or whatever when shit gets crazy. But it's not like it's more like an idea of like the gatekeepers are the idea of like what it means to be black in this country. And if your whatever you're saying isn't necessarily like in line with that narrative, then you're like destructive to the topic or to any kind of progress. But
Right.
and then so then you get discredited, and it's like it's kind of I don't know, it's annoying because you know I don't know, like it's because there's no one to blame or anything, but it's like it's got you get a stink on you if you don't like just go along with like, and I'm not even just talking about black people, I'm just talking about like people in general, like of the different groups, and white people almost kind of don't have that problem, or at least it's not as much like that I can tell. Where like there's like a narrative that they have to go along with.
Yeah.
That like if they don't, then like white people kick them out of the group. You know.
Right. We never can get kicked out of the group because there's no group. The group does not have any semblance of pride behind it. And if you do have white pride, that's a bad thing. So we don't kick people out. And we are more. I don't know. It's weird because in a way, that's kind of a good thing that we don't get kicked out of being of our own race. But also, we don't give a fuck because we don't care that we're that we're like whiteness is such a broad category for so many nationalities and ethnicities. It just happens to be that if you have a light enough skin complexion, whatever, you're considered white. And same with black. If you're dark enough, they don't give. It doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter how you identify yourself, people will identify you a certain way. And since it's a minority group, they want you to speak for the common, the most common thing that they want to, like. So, I guess, yeah, you're right. White people are safe from that. Like I could say whatever I want, and people will just be like, "Oh, how dare!" Like you have to go along with white privilege. I think if you want to be accepted in mainstream culture, but who cares? Even if I don't, nobody really challenges me. They just give up. I've never had anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
They assume that you're like a lost cause, and that,
Yeah.
you know, just like let you, just like, all right, he's one of the toxic ones, just let him float out to sea.
Yeah, but that's a good thing that they don't say I'm a toxic white guy. They just go I'm a toxic person. That's a healthy thing that I don't. It doesn't matter what race I am. At that point, you shed your skin color. And also, same thing, I think, if you're black and you talk shit about the black community in any small way, they no longer look at you as in the community, even though you still are black. But they get extra mad at you for that reason.
Well, but I don't necessarily like get because I get it, you know. Because I mean, my dad's black, like I was raised in black culture, and so I feel like I kind of understand it on a level that it's like cause like I feel like black people in this country, like it's kind of like, because we're not the majority, like we're like as far as like percentages go and stuff, and so it's almost like we can't afford to have traitors, or at least people who like look black but aren't like. But it's weird too, man, because it's like there's lots of different types of black people. It's almost like it's kind of stupid to like try to lump. Just like there's different groups of white people, but there's just more of you guys.
I agree
it's
that
like
it's stupid to lump
the fact that
people.
there's
Yeah.
different groups, like those are about the same size as other subgroups in general. Whereas like if you start to split up like the black community, like with different experiences and just raised in different places, like there's black people who have a very white privileged existence, but somehow like I don't know, but they still get lumped in with like people who are poor and just who don't have opportunities and stuff. It's like it's all under the same umbrella, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of like a negative way to look at it, or like a negative like I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but it's like it's not helpful because it's like we're not all the same, and different types of people have different problems depending on like for me personally, I feel like money is just the ultimate like decider of who's okay and who's not. Like if you got money, you're cool, and I mean like a lot of white people have money, but like I feel like their whiteness is like second to that. Like it's if you got money, you're good, or if you like live in a place that where you're safe from any kind of BS like that, then you don't ever experience it. But
So you said
it's money, man.
Go ahead. Yeah, I agree. It's money. Money leads to generally better education. I think that's big, because you could have money and not be educated, and then you're probably not going to be good with money, and so that's not going to lead to the best situation in the long run. So I think it's. So you said there's black people with white privilege.
Well, I mean, I said, yeah, like in a very
or just privilege,
like funky way, but yes, like I mean, I feel like LeBron James kids probably have way more white privilege than me per se, or you combined, honestly. Like I don't know, like I feel like money. If you just have money, because like no one looks at like if you're there's two things like that I think people don't consider, and this is like a Stanhope bit, but he talks about like pretty people privilege and then money privilege. Like I feel like those two things, like, are really powerful, and it's kind of silly when you start breaking it down to race. Race is definitely like part of the equation, but I feel like those are two elements that people kind of just like brush to the wayside or whatever.
And also, just female privilege is another topic I considered making this episode about. Female privilege and also just pussy. You've heard the term pussy pass. We've all heard.
I believe. I mean, maybe this is the first time I'm hearing, but I think I know what you mean by it.
Yeah, okay, like pussy pass denied. Like when somebody is like, "Oh hell
okay,
no."
Wait, maybe I don't know.
Oh, okay. It's on Reddit sometime. It was like a subreddit about it, where
right.
Like it's you don't have to be a men's rights activist to think that's okay or funny to make fun of women's privilege, or to at least acknowledge that it's real. I mean, so like I think there's some things that give you privilege that are superficial, like your gender, looks, maybe even race. But you're saying there's all these. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just gonna say like it's weird. I'll just say this real quick. Like with privilege, it's almost like what are we talking about at the end of the day? Because like everybody has privilege in some way. Like I think, but it does. And I think when you start to talk about people's privileges, people think that you're like discrediting their like obstacles. Like, and because they have privileges, there's like no obstacles. And I don't think that. Like I think everyone's got a mixture of that type of shit.
Yeah.
Like there's like a mixture of things that I don't know, you get like a pussy pass for or whatever, and then there's other things that like I understand, like you're struggling, or you have some sort of like I don't know, like thing that like some sort of obstacle, I guess. I don't know, like I don't discredit that because I acknowledge like privilege,
Right. So you believe in privilege, but you yeah, it's tough because you said that there's some affluent black families where their kids end up with the equivalent of white privilege, but you can't call it that because, but that's still they're still getting the benefits because of the money and probably the education and the other things that they get based on those two things. That's the same thing that people talk about when they talk about white privilege, just that it's not based on necessarily race. Like, do you believe in white privilege at all? Or even, like, I'm going to ask you also if you believe in black privilege, because that's the main topic.
I don't know, man. Because, like, this is one of those things where, like, my, I guess my light-skinnedness gets me discredited if I say, like, I don't really, like, I don't know if I, like, believe in white privilege, because I feel like if you acknowledge there are elements to, like, privilege that, like, white people have, I mean, that's, like, in the same vein that, like, they're just one of the groups that have privileges, and I don't necessarily look at white privileges as, like, the privileges, that, like, stop me from doing anything, because, like, I don't view white people as my oppressor, like it's like it's just like there's white people and then there's Asians and then there's Indian people, like there's just people, and like if I say that you have like privilege, then I'm kind of like, or if I say like believe in, like, I mean the mainstream, like whatever thing that they say like white privilege is, that they used to discredit any like white ideas, is it's like I'm saying that like I'm lower than you on like some fucking invisible totem pole that we invented, and I don't necessarily believe that. Like I don't believe white people are like just on a base level like better or have some sort of thing that I don't have. Like just the fact that I was born in this country and I'm able to like pursue comedy, I'm like, dude, I'm fucking like way better off than like most of the fucking world. So like I resent that term like white privilege, because it's almost like a way for white people to still be like above black people, where they just like say like, oh, I have white privilege, and they don't really explain it, but they just kind of hang it over you of like, well, my white privilege, I couldn't even, and it's like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Like, don't insult me like as if you have some better type of life than I do.
Yeah.
Because like it's weird. It's a weird thing to say, because everybody struggles with shit. So it's like, if you just say that you have like white privilege or whatever, then it's almost like in the same vein of like a backhanded compliment or something. It's like you're insulting me by also trying to, I guess, like insult yourself or something. It's weird, man.
It is weird. It's
I guess to answer your question, I'm gonna say no, but like there are white privileges that are a thing, I guess. Just because like if you're the majority of a country,
exactly,
then you just have like, because you're the more common thing that people like, but that's changing. So it's like it's a constantly moving statistic and shit. But yeah, I guess like there are white privileges, but I don't necessarily believe in like that blanket statement of
well, you
white
just said
privilege.
that that there's some things that you could call white privilege, but then he also used the word majority, and I think that's the key word, because that's what Jordan Peterson says. He says, well, it's more majority privilege. It's like, yeah, that society happens to be designed to favor the majority because that's kind of how it works. When a society is set up, it's kind of natural for it to favor the majority, whether that seems unfair.
I guess when you put it like that, I've never heard Jordan Peterson put it that way. But I mean, I agree with him. I guess the only problem that I would have with that is like when that majority is like racial. I think that then that's kind of like a problem. Like if the majority is a racial thing, like what defines? Because like there's different categories you can split people up into, and if the majority ends up being a racial thing, and then there's like a lot of perks to that, being a part of the majority, I say like, hey, let's talk about this. At least like let's talk about it. I don't even mean we gotta like say anyone's evil or like try to fucking whatever, say anything kind of crazy. I just say like, let's talk about that. Like that's
if we're just
saying that, like,
if we agree that it's not necessarily evil for society to do, like it depends on the example of white privilege that we're talking about. Like some are insidious more than others. Like if you're talking about systematic racism, that's oppression, and that's something that would not be good. But if we're just talking about like an example of white privilege that's more mundane, would be to say that certain stores do not sell shampoo that would be useful to the type of hair that some black people have. So that would be an example of white privilege, that the stores don't have the shampoo. So
Well,
that would be one that
and
could be not as insidious. That's just because, well, yeah, because there's a marketplace and there's a majority, that most of our customers are this. They don't need this. They're
right.
not in the market for this type of shampoo. So that would be one of the examples that could be kind of explained by the fact that it's not racist to stock your store with things that are going to be sold or whatever by the as much.
No, I mean that's a good point to like bring up, because I've heard that like argument brought up before, and like what do you suppose the store owner does in that case? Because you don't want to like exclude people, but then
Right.
also you do have a market that you're trying to fill. And if anything, if you believe in like free market theory or whatever the fuck it is, like that something else will arise because of that. If there's like a market to fill,
Yeah.
then, but it's kind of gross to think about things like people as like markets, because it's like why can't you just be the one black person in a very white community and have things that are there for just because you're part of the community, or you like that the store just has like stuff like for you too.
Yeah.
But it's because it's like a money thing, and so it's almost like the store owner's in a position where it's like, look, in theory, like I'd love to provide everything for everybody, but like financially it doesn't make sense for me to do this. And so now like someone who needs like a specific type of shampoo has to like drive to like somewhere else, and it's kind of like it's just, I don't know, there's like a it feels gross, but it's like I get why the store can't provide all the different types of shampoo.
Right.
But it's like it's more like a financial thing, but it's like a complicated problem. It can't like just be solved with like, I don't know, just writing that store off as like being problematic or something. It's just like, I don't know, like if anyone has like a better financial like idea to like get out of that sticky situation, I don't know, like fuck it, I'm down to hear it, because like I don't have the answer for that. Like it's like a weird thing. Like what do you do?
Yeah, I guess there's no simple answer, but if people are really concerned, I mean, I guess they could just keep asking the stores. That's just one example. That's like one that, like, even that kind of counts as something to be aware of. Like, but is it? I wouldn't call it, I guess, oppression, but it's somewhat oppressive to not be able to get the shampoo you need. But to blame it,
No, yeah. It's
the question is if it's
something to
racist.
talk about.
Yeah. Like, is it racist of society to not force the economy, like to force stores to stock stuff that might not sell as much? Like, that's the question, if that's racist. And I don't think it's necessarily racist. I just think it's unfair, though. I just think it's lame and
well, and dude, what's funny about like this little example is like blown up like to scale or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's essentially what's wrong with this entire country. It's like it's all in this weird vagueness. Like no one really like like white people say, look, I get it, but I don't know what you. And then black people are just like annoyed at like this vague oppressor, but it's not even oppression. It's just kind of like not being able to buy your fucking shampoo at the place where you want to buy your shampoo at. And then, but it's like a money reason, but that's not good enough. It's like, man, dude, there's got to be a better way to figure this shit out. Like, and the whole like country's kind of in this weird, like, we don't really know how to, I don't know, like fucking fix it.
Yeah, and like it's something that people, like, I'm sure there's other examples of white privilege that I could bring up that might, but that's one of them. And it's not very strong it's not very compelling to me to make it seem like we need to. But also, I mean, that's not really what started all these movements, like the Black Lives Matter movement started with,
Right.
like Ferguson and these shootings and police brutality and racial profiling and cops just generally being regarded as racist. That's the biggest thing or fuel that caused the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think also when you get into that, when you get into the statistics on that, I think there's a lot of distortion and general misinformation. And
Yeah. Well, that's what we were talking about before. Like, that was interesting.
yeah, we were talking about
That
that last 2 nights ago. And we were like, oh man, this is the type of stuff we cannot say in public or something.
Well, it's because it's like the misinformation thing is key. Like, it's kind of like people don't, like they don't they're getting like only the headlines, and then like it kind of just it makes everything like tense, and like everybody's like, but no one's actually listening to each other because like I feel like a lot of the stuff I see on like YouTube or whatever, you got like a black person who's like, coming from like an emotionally hurt place, saying like, this is fucked up or whatever, and then the white person, whoever they're like talking with or who they're like arguing with, is like listing off statistics, and it's like there's like a miscommunication of like what it is each side is like kind of like mad about, because like we were talking about this the other night with like the statistics that everyone talks about, where it's like, oh well, black people in the black community or whatever, like in black neighborhoods, like kill each other, way more than white police officers kill black people. But it's like but why are those white police officers killing black people? It's like it's like race based. It's not, because like black people killing black people in the hood is just like people killing people, like, oh, for money and power or whatever. Like that's just what we always do, like just as people in general. Where and then but like a white police officer who doesn't understand like black culture, or who is made uncomfortable by black people and doesn't know how to be a cop in that situation because they're not like well trained and all that type of shit, like
Okay.
then that's the problem, like that there's not enough, like people don't seem to care that like that's the reason why that black person died, is because it was like a racial misunderstanding, or like just like I don't know, it's a race based thing.
I
Like
mean,
why
so
they're
you're
dead, as opposed
saying in some cases of police brutality, it is based on a misunderstanding and a false assumption, and that it's like it basically shouldn't have happened because of.
yeah, like that that a lot of these, when you read like the article, I was like, man, that did not have to end that way. Like,
Right.
what the fuck was going on? Like it just seems like like ridiculous. Like what? And I think that is like there's a part of like police officers not being trained like well, or like well enough. Like I don't know. I mean, I feel like you hear a bunch of statistics about this type of shit, but like I thought like the last thing I heard was like 12 weeks of training to be a police officer, and then like most of it is like gun training. It's not even like they're not
Yeah.
like it's not de-escalation or any type of shit like that. Like it's very like, do you know how to use your weapon, and like can you remember what all the different like numbers mean or whatever the fuck, like as a cop, like, oh yeah, we got a 1040 coming up on Pulaski or whatever the fuck, the language they say. Like I think those are the things they focus on and nothing else. And it happens so quickly. Like no shit, there's a bunch of police officers that are like not that trained, that well trained, and I don't know. I think it's like the whole thing is ridiculous.
So you're saying, and I probably agree with you that there's definitely some cases where untrained police officers unjustly racially profile people. But what about cases where a very well trained cop does happen to kind of racially profile? Like, is there any cases where it's okay to be a little bit more cautious around a black person as a cop, do you think?
Uh,
Like if you're
Like
in a
only if you like have a like a I mean like generally speaking no. But like if like you whatever have like some sort of thing that comes in on your radio and like this person's in the car that like that you guys have been looking for like
well, yeah, if they
it
fit the
looks like a
profile, that
car.
would not be racially. That would just be profiling based on accurate, like non pre, not presumptions. It's based on a description. It's not based on an assumption.
Right.
I guess I'm asking a
Yeah.
very dangerous question. I'm asking if it's ever okay to racially profile if you're a cop, like if you're in a bad area, a high crime area, and you see someone who looks like it's not just because they're black. I don't like. I think there's a misunderstanding of how police do their job that accounts for what looks like racism, and it's also very debatable if it is racist or not. But let's say it's it gets you more. Like let's say racially profiling actually gets you to find more or actually gets you to reach your quota in finding dangerous or violent, I guess, crimes. Like I don't know. I think there's
Well,
some.
yeah, because it's like now we get into where we're like just talking about hypotheticals and stuff like that. Where I mean, theoretically, like yeah, maybe like racially profiling in some situations would better the situation, but I'm just thinking like more times than not, it's probably not a great um idea to just be straight up racially profiling
Yeah, yeah,
people
of
just in
course.
general. But like if you have like a I don't know, like, because that's where it's like when you say racially profiling, like, there's lots of different types of like people, like I mean, black people, like we don't all look the same, so it's like there's like that next step of like, all right, racially profiling, but then like, does that person look like whatever it is you are looking for, like a suspect,
Right.
like, and I think if um like if there's a because it's like I don't know, like as soon as like you have like white, I don't know, cops or whatever, or just cops. Like I mean, white cops. Who gives a shit? Like cops, just like just profiling people based on race. It's like I understand why. Like I guess because if you're not doing anything wrong, then you don't have anything to worry about. Like I always kind of operate from that part or that spot. But I
I
feel like even that's kind of like a
Do you think
I don't know.
that's
I feel like I've
true?
heard this before. Like one of the like you're just sort of that's just a thing to say. It's almost like when people say like, "Do you feel weird about the government bugging our phones or shit?" It's like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong, so who gives a shit? It's like that's like I'm kind of in that same weird place where, like I'm not doing anything, but like I'm not comfortable with like, profiling based on race, and that's why when it's like a hypothetical situation, it's very because like this
Yeah.
shit is very nuanced, man. It's like you can't just like whittle it down to like a hypothetical like, well, if racism would cure cancer, should more people be racist? Like I don't know, like it's not like I don't even understand like what like in hypotheticals, like hypothetically,
Yeah.
like does it will it help? Like, well, if it did, like I guess we should do it then, huh? But I don't think it does ever really, especially because it's so everything's so weird and like tense.
Very much so. But in the end, at the end of the day, it is happening. I think cops are more cautious just based on your skin color and your look about you, the way the what you're wearing, where you're at, your location, the time of the day. Those things do count. Like to just say that cops do not consider anything about it's not
Well,
it's they have to because otherwise
that
it wouldn't be it would be kind of not even I would say it's safer to do that. Like it's you have to, otherwise you'd be kind of ignoring something that could lead to
right.
danger.
I think Mark Norman has a great joke about that or something where trying to describe like or no Amy Schumer has a skit about that or a sketch
Hmm.
about that like trying to describe somebody without talking about their race.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's ridiculous, you know.
Right.
It's like that's a big part of it. Like of course we have to
I mean, it's
like we have to
yeah.
bring that up when you're describing somebody.
It sounds evil to say that you should be cautious based on race, but it's definitely a factor like if you are late, if you're out late walking on the street in Chicago on the sidewalk and you see someone sketchy coming your way who you think might mug you, is it racist to cross the street?
Well, you know what? That's a very interesting point, Tim. I like to think like, has anyone ever gotten out of a mugging by crossing the street? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
that's another good question. Probably may.
Has ever worked?
I'd like to think the answer is probably yes because
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna mug this white bitch, and then she crosses the street. It's like, well, damn, I can't even.
That's a good point.
Look, I had it all planned out.
It sounds silly. You're right, but I think what goes on in the mugger's head is like, well, they gotta be close proximity. I don't know. I don't think many muggings get prevented by someone crossing the street, but also I think I think caution helps a little bit. I don't know.
I think people should be cautious in general, but also like, I mean, I don't know. Then you get into this weird spot of like, should people just like trust each other straight up? Because I mean, look, a cop, man, they have a real shitty type of job. I mean, they run it. They only see like the worst side of people most of the time. Where every time they pull somebody over, it's like a tense situation, and you don't really know what you're walking into. And so, like, I get why cops would be kind of like weird, not even just like dealing with black people, but just in general, like anybody you pull over, it's like it's a weird tense spot because even if you're just pulling me over to tell me my headlights out and like maybe there's some sort of like fine associated with that, like I can't afford that fine, or like it's like I don't want to pay that fine or whatever, like no matter what, cops are kind of like seen as these like just assholes in society because they always are coming with bad news. Like no one's, unless you like a crime is happening that you called them for, like most people aren't like super thrilled to see the cops. Like when they pull you over or they just show up to shit, everyone's like, oh shit, it was gonna, like, everyone would be cool, the cops are here. It's like no one likes the cops really until they need them for something, and so every situation a cop enters is like a tense situation. And so I get why they're kind of always like, it's always like a standoffish kind of thing. And I don't know, the times like I've gotten pulled over, like I try to be as just cool as possible and just not like, because like it's like I get it, man. It's like I'm not trying to make you feel like a certain kind of way or whatever, but that's just me taking that step, is like just being a good person of like, look, let me just do whatever I can to ease this weirdness. But I don't know, like it's weird, man, because like I see both sides of it, like why both sides are annoyed with each other, or like there's like this weird tension in there.
Do you ever feel nervous around cops just for the reasons that we were talking about? Like, because as a white dude, I do believe there's obviously a difference. I don't get nervous as much around cops as I would if I was black. I just know.
Well, now, do you feel that way because like just purely like a race thing, or do you feel that way because like you're not like doing? Because I will say that there's interesting, like you see these videos on Instagram where like white guys like set up cameras and like they try to like I don't know, have these videos of them outsmarting a police officer, or, like talking shit to a police officer in real time. I'm like, man, that is white privilege if I ever seen it.
Totally.
Like that thought has never like crossed my mind.
Right.
Like, man, let me set up like a camera. Let me try to prank this motherfucker. It's like,
right.
Dude, that is not. But I don't feel like, I don't like. Do you feel? Because I feel like if you're not someone who like, if you're just not a criminal, you generally don't feel like super or as tense
pretty
as
much
someone who maybe has something to hide or whatever.
Pretty much. I just think there's some weight to it. There's some truth to it that, you should probably be a little more weary of cops, just if you're in Chicago especially, because that's where a lot of profiling, I think, happens. And but I'm not, like, this is coming from somebody who is pretty on the right on this. Like, but even I will admit that I don't really get nervous around cops. Like, but it's not justified. I'm not saying it's justified because I also heard that you're more likely to be the victim of police brutality and to be shot as a white guy. I actually heard that, but still, I'm so conditioned to think that it's not going to happen. So it actually has an effect on me just because I live in this liberal area where it's like, oh no, if you're white, the cops are basically your friend. If you're black, they're your enemy. That's what I'm so conditioned to believe that it actually kind of does work on me. I actually do kind of believe it. Just and also,
do you think like the cop? Do you like think of the cops as your friend? Like I don't know. Like, do you,
no.
Like, how do you view the cops? Like,
Only, I mean, certainly they're. I don't think it was my friend, but it's maybe kind of somewhat. I became more of a friend to them over the years. I became more pro cop in the past 2 years, just because of the Black Lives Matter movement. They do have a pretty rough. I sympathize with them because of everything we're saying about how they get called racist, they get challenged, they get, people challenge them all the time, and they have a tough job. So I do sympathize with them, but I don't think they're my friends.
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I sympathize with them. Like I don't like, cause it's a shit gig, but also like I do. I mean, it's one of those things like you expect like the best of your like police. I think you expect like a type of policing that can't be so thrown by the things that throw normal people. Like, if you're a cop, you should be like really cool and calm under pressure. Like you should be like a fucking like a Marine in a way where you just like you can handle it. Like you're not gonna. Because, like, some of these videos, man, I swear, like, you see some of these, like, cops, and you're like, dude, how the fuck did you just, like, apply for this shit, like, a job? Like, were they signing people up at the mall? Like, how the fuck did you become a cop? Like, they don't seem like they have any kind of hand-eye coordination even. Like, they're, like, dumpy, like, and so, like, that kind of, like, something like a police officer should be, like, a harder job to get in general, and so I don't know. I mean, that's like a whole other type of problem, though. I think, like, however, like government spending and like how like that gets sort of directed at police officers, and like so then we could have a better police force because like it's harder to get in it, and these dudes get paid better, so there's like more of a pride, that comes with the job of like, yo, let me just not be some asshole with a badge making $40,000 a year or whatever it is. Like, let me try to like be the best I can be. And I think honestly most police officers are trying to do that because I have police officers in my family, so like thinking of them, like, I mean, I think they're operating from a place like to do the best job that they possibly can. And anytime you're dealing with like inner city police and shit, it's like, man, those dudes are like, I sympathize with them, like I get why I don't know, like it happens, like why fuck ups happen and misunderstandings and shit. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's fucked up.
I do respect really Chicago cops. Just over the years, they get so like on top of having a job that's getting not any easier. They have to go after these murders, and there's no chance of them solving them, and they just have to just do their job. No one else is gonna do anything about it, and on top of that, they get called racist. So I think we agree on that. But I would like to go ahead.
So not to like cut you off. I was just curious. You had asked me like what I thought like white privilege was, but I feel like the topic of like I'm curious. Like, do you? Like,
I was gonna bring it back to the main topic, which was black privilege, and
like what do you think it is? So I think I have what I think it is, but I think I already said it. But
okay, I guess my opinion on it is that it's basically the opposite. It's like white privilege, but only for black people. So I don't know if I necessarily believe in it, and if I do, it's only in like a tongue-in-cheek kind of way. But I still think there's some truth to it, even though I don't have to necessarily get behind it politically. There's still some truth to it actually. So maybe instead of copying out and saying it doesn't exist, I think it does kind of exist. But the reason I'm hesitant to say it does is because because then you have to also say white privilege kind of exists too, and I don't believe in white privilege really. So how could I believe in black privilege? That would not be very consistent. But hey, maybe I do. So the way I believe in it would be like you being able to get away with certain things because you're black, such as in social contexts, like lower expectations, like
Right.
yeah, like if someone like I don't know any like I guess an example like let's say someone's late to a to a comedy like someone goes over their time at a comedy show or is late at a comedy show, I would just go. Someone might go, "Oh, don't call them on it. They're black. They don't do like." That would be one.
That's crazy.
That's the first example I could think of black privilege is black comedians going way over their time
Like,
and not getting called on it.
that's hilarious, Tim. I don't know if that's what it is, but I appreciate that take on it.
Just like the shampoo example, like it doesn't have to be a good example. It's just the best. It's the first one I could think of. I don't know if I really believe in it in a heavy way, Like, oh, we need to do something about this black privilege. Like, yeah, maybe, but not in that example. That's just a funny example, but
yeah, I mean
still
that's the thing.
dumb.
I don't believe in any of these like in a very like like concrete thing. Like they're all just sort of tongue in cheek. Like it's funny to me. That's why
Except
like, earlier,
unless we really want to. Sorry. Unless we really want to get into it about how the low expectations can lead to a lower quality of life. In that sense,
yeah.
I
like,
do.
Whoa, wait, what do you mean?
Basically, okay, it's okay if you don't get the job. It's okay if you don't work or have a job because society is racist against black people, so we might as well just not even try. Just join a gang. That would be the extreme example of what I mean.
Right.
That's not black privilege though. That's more like just systematic racism. Like black privilege, I guess, would be like you getting away with.
Well, being able to say the
N-word
publicly and then not be like a big problem. That's where I thought you were going. Like I thought you were going to say like that, because that's what I think.
That's an example of it. That's a very that's one I'm okay with.
Like, well, Patrice talked about this where he said like that is black reparations is just like forever now our ability to say whatever the fuck we want to say and not be able to be called on it. And there's definitely an element of that, like that's sort of the tongue-in-cheek, anyways, aspect of like black privilege, where we're moving forward. There's kind of just now this understanding that like I'm gonna say whatever the fuck I want to say, and y'all ain't gonna say shit about it.
Right.
I feel like that's not like it's fun if you're like the benefactor of that thing, but it's like I don't know, like I don't know if that's necessarily going to be conducive to like really evening things out and like making everybody cool, like finally in this country or whatever, like just kind of squashing all the beef and like because like it's important to know about like the past and like where we all come from, but like generally speaking, like I mean there's like a lot of opportunity in this country for everybody, so I don't necessarily think it's like a productive conversation to have unless you're actually trying to like make things better and like fix some shit. If we actually are going to have a discussion about like how can we try to I don't know, like not even just like black communities but just poor communities that aren't like doing well, like what the fuck are we doing in some other country like spending resources there when because we have some like oil foothold in the Middle East or some shit, and I don't know like a lot about that type of shit, but like just based on what I've heard anyways. This is when I become the Eddie Bravo of this podcast.
So you're basically
and the earth is flat, dog. It's crazy.
Right. So basically, your example of black privilege is being able to talk about stuff that normally you're not allowed to talk about. Can
Or
you?
like it not having like repercussions. Like, because we
Right.
were talking about this like in one of our previous conversations where you were saying how like you like Tim can say whatever you want to, but it comes with this stink of being like the edgy comic or like you're the controversial guy. Whereas like I can just say whatever the fuck I want and no one. It's just like all right, whatever. Like it's not that it's not seen as like an edgy or even like particularly special thing. It's just like, yeah, whatever. That he's just like
Right.
a comic. He's black, so he just says what he wants. And whereas like anyone can say anything, I guess for
I
the
mean,
most part. I mean,
I
but
guess that's a
with
good
white
point.
people,
That kind of jolted my memory, and I guess a real example of just another example would be if you're brown or a person of color, not just black, you have the ability to talk shit about white people as much as you want, pretty much. That's I don't know if that's a privilege, but like I could
it's
do it
something.
too, so it's not really exclusive to black people. So
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know how I necessarily feel about that because there's a part of it that seems disingenuous when when black people are shitting on white people and like even I would say like brothers on the south side or like south side comics that I see who get on stage and like they whatever they say whatever they say about white people. It's kind of like all right, whatever. But like when I see other people, I'm like, man, dude, you don't like. Like I feel like they're just saying that because that's like a thing to say. Like it's like it's like a very safe thing to say comedically, and it
yeah.
bugs me. You
And it
know
also, I
that like
guess I kind of corrected myself by saying, well, also white people get away with that too, so it's not really black privilege.
well, what do you mean like
Like, just
shitting on
talk,
white
like,
people? You mean?
yeah, just talking shit about white people. It's not a black privilege. It's just not just, and everyone has that privilege.
Well,
And
but I'll tell you where the black privilege comes
yeah,
in. It's not just white people, but like I can maybe run through a bit talking about Chinese people, whereas like I don't think other groups necessarily have that
oh,
privilege. And I
okay,
think black people, so like here's the thing that I've been thinking recently, anyway. Like it's becoming harder for even like just I mean, and not that it whatever. Like it sounds like I'm upset that it's being questioned or whatever, but like that like it's becoming at least that I noticed like on the north side like doing comedy and stuff. Like it's becoming less okay for just like black people to say blanket statements about other races that aren't white. But I feel
right,
like for a while, like black people could like shit on Chinese people or Arab people, but now I think just generally speaking, it's becoming less okay for anyone to talk about anybody except for white
yeah,
people, and that's weird. I don't necessarily
right.
think that's a good thing.
I agree with that. And also, I mean, yeah, I guess it's just harmful, I think, to give people lower expectations and just not challenge them just because of their race, just like it's bad to profile them because of their race. Like, that's why I'm against affirmative action. That's an example of privilege. That's my minority privilege, like getting into a college just because you're a minority. Is that helpful? Like, I don't think that helps. That would be kind of insulting to me if I got into a college just because of my skin, whatever. You know?
Yeah, well, because it's like, why does it's weird because like, why does anybody get into a college to begin with? Like, I don't like. I mean, like, obviously there's that
Yeah.
like you have to be qualified, but I bet like a lot of people, apply to places and they all have, I mean, glowing resumes, all 4.0 fucking GPAs and shit. They all did, AP honors
Right.
classes, and
There's
they
other
volunteered
corruption there.
in different places. So then, like, what do you, like, how do you, I guess,
Yeah.
choose at that point? And
Well,
and I don't know if it's
I think it should be based on academic skill. It should be based on your skill as a scholar, as a collegiate. It should be based on that. But I mean, of course, if you all have the same 4.0 GPA, then I guess they have to pick something else to base it on. I don't think it should be race either, though. I don't think it should be race.
no, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it should be raised. I don't think. because it does feel like I don't know, to be the benefactor of that type of shit. Like, not that I have personally, because I'm, I haven't. I mean, I didn't go to college, so I don't know even like the acceptance.
That's why we agree on so much. I did not go to college either. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, because I kind of feel like college is a scam a little bit, so I don't really like even
Yeah.
to try to argue on behalf of like black acceptance into college. There's a part of me that's kind of like, man, I don't even know if I want to tell people they should go to college. Period. Like, I think it's kind of a fucking scam. But like, if you gotta pick somebody to be in the school, like it should be the person. It should be fair, and that's where it gets weird. Like, how do you determine fair? But like the most qualified people should have like a chance to be in that school, and it shouldn't be for like any arbitrary reasons, like you're trying to check, groups of people off of your fucking whatever. You're trying to hit all the boxes and stuff. But
I
mean,
also
you should
think college
about
is
the boxes. Like, there's a lot of like smart women who applied here, so like we should get them in here just so we can have them at the table to like conversate about stuff and like share ideas and like having like the smartest of each different types of people coming from different types of walks of life. Like, I think that's important, to just kind of keep ideas like flowing. But I don't know, like I don't like it if it feels like it's overcorrecting or just it's not, like, I don't like it if it doesn't feel fair in either direction. Like, I think, I don't know, like I just want shit to be fair. That's, I mean, the biggest.
Right.
But most things aren't fair when you really look at it. I mean, even like, just like in the business that we're in, which I'm like more, I guess.
Stand-up's not fair.
To talk about.
Yeah, it's not based on merit or talent. It's based on
like it's kind of like who you know. It's like the systems, like all of the systems and institutions. You can claim race as a reason, but I don't necessarily think it's like productive to think that that's how you're going to solve the problem, because the problems are more nuanced than that. Like, why someone like their kid gets in, or like their wife's like cousin's kid gets into a school or something, or like someone gets a role or like in a movie, or someone puts someone like on a show because they know somebody. Like, it's all like connections and like some form of that,
Mm-hmm.
and so nothing is like fair. But I would like it to be as fair as it possibly could be, and I don't really know how you do that.
We're just talking about college?
Yeah, like college and just institutions in general.
Well, I agree that college is a scam, so I think that'd be a good topic to make another episode about, just college in general and just job security and the marketplace for ideas and getting people prepared for a career. I think would be a good topic for another episode.
Yeah, because because I said briefly, just say what I think about college. I mean, that shit, it worked more when we had like a model of like American success being like, you fucking go to college and then you get like a good job that's going to be there for 40 years, and then you work there for 40 years and you get like your pension and shit, and you go on vacation. But like a lot of that stuff is being dissolved now, because I think like a lot of like the generation coming up right now is like realizing that's not really a good way to exist, like to be living for retirement and to like work at one place for 40 years. Like, it's like, I feel like for most people coming up now and entering the workforce, like that seems like a jail sentence. Like, no one wants to do that shit.
Pretty much.
So the whole idea of like college, it seems like it's becoming like a more antiquated, like old like thing that people do, or like it's like a people who like that's their best attempt to get security out of life. And it's not a bad way to get some security out of life, but I don't know, I feel like I hear a lot of stories of people fucking getting good jobs or figuring out their life without going to college, or getting like, they went to college but they dropped out, or they got a degree in something totally different, and then they just like decided to learn this other thing and they started doing that, and they found some sort of job security through that. So the whole model of like what constitutes like a happy American life is changing. And so I don't know, like going to college, I mean, if you want to, I guess, like doctors should go to college. Like, I don't want to be on the record saying I think lawyers should just learn that shit from YouTube videos. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, yeah, doctors and like lawyers, like any kind of technical shit like that,
Mhm.
like go to school, figure it out or whatever. But on the whole, like most people, I don't know if they need it.
So
that might be kinda
comedians
like a
don't need it.
thing.
We're comedians. We're killing it. We didn't go to college, and we're killing it. So.
Yeah, right. Fucking. Man,
But if
dude,
you're not a
'cause, like, I
comedian,
have friends who are like in so much debt right now. It's fucking wild. Like I'm just like, goddamn, dude, you're like 24 years old.
yeah, 100K in
That's some
debt.
crazy ass shit, dude.
Well, I mean, I guess it's worth it. Like 100K in debt would be if you actually were getting like a hopefully a law degree, or a fucking science degree of some kind. I would fucking hope. If you're that in debt, if
Yeah.
you're just like 30K in debt, you'll figure that shit out with your fucking sociology degree, I guess, because that's not that bad. But 100K, yeah, that's a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, you're not
just
gonna
depends.
put yourself out 100K. With
Just get your parents to pay
sociology.
for it, you know. But that's privilege. That's economical privilege, as we were talking about earlier. But anyway, I think we got pretty deep into it. You've been on for an hour. It's the longest phone call I've had, I think, on this
Jesus.
show.
Sorry about that, man.
No, I love it. I'm glad that you didn't get bored.
No, dude, it's an interesting thing to talk about, and I'm interested, like, to hear the other people who you have on the show, like, what they want to say about it or whatever. Because I mean, that's just my opinion, and you know, I mean, who
check
fuck
the
cares what I
comments.
think? I'm half white.
Yeah.
So.
Somebody said we're misinformed. I asked if they wanted to call in, but I don't know if they're going to. But then someone else did want to call in. Speaking of racial gatekeeping, somebody who's fully black wants to call in. So we're going to have to let you go.
Oh, well, please. Their security clearance is way higher than mine. As soon as fucking possible. Get me the fuck out of here.
You're used to that.
I'm used to that. I'm used to getting, like, moved aside by fully black people. Being like, all right, just like, let me take the wheel now.
All right. Well, sorry to have to do that to you again then. Or you're used
That's
to
all
it.
right, man. It was fun talking to you.
All right. It was very fun.
Man, the show's fucking great.
Sounds
and,
good.
I'll see you around.
All right. I'll see. Do you have anything to plug real quick?
Well, my the brewery sessions shows are gonna be this October. We're doing 3 Saturdays again. You're on that first Saturday, so I'm excited for those shows. So not that you have like some Waukegan following, but if anybody wants to check those shits out, those will be dope. And I'm also gonna be performing at Riddle's Comedy Club October 24th, which is gonna be kind of dope.
Hell yeah.
That's as far as big shows are. I think that's all I have coming up, and that's not till like October 24th. So
Sounds good.
that's all I got to plug.
Well, it's always good talking, dude. And I would like to hang out again soon because you're one of the people I agree with most, and you're one of the most people I have most fun hanging out with in the Chicago comedy scene.
Dude, absolutely, man. Same to you, man. I appreciate you.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'll see you around, brother.
All right, peace.
Peace.
All right, there's a long, nice conversation. I like to keep people on as long as possible because otherwise it would just be me talking, and man, is that fucking boring, dude. Actually, I could have just gone over more content on my own. I had a bunch of YouTube videos lined up about black privilege, but there's very few videos about the actual topic that are not basically criticizing it. Because of the YouTube algorithm. The YouTube algorithm is very slanted against conservative ideas. And black privilege, man, is that a conservative idea? Actually, I don't actually think it is. It doesn't make sense for it to be conservative. It's a new idea. But it is conservatives who are talking about it. No, it's also just people who are talking about it who reject it. Hey, how's it going, Steve?
Man, chilling, man. How you feeling?
Yeah, not too bad. So you're in Ohio.
Yeah, man. I'm actually at my little brother's wedding, man.
Oh, cool.
I mean, it's like the wedding is over and done. We're at the reception now, so we just, drinking, having a good time.
Okay, yeah. So it's still only 8 o'clock, so you'll probably be drinking for quite a while there.
Well, I mean, it's a East Coast town, so it's 9 o'clock now.
Ah, okay, it is East Coast. Gotcha. Still 9 o'clock, dude. I'm drinking whiskey and coffee as we.
Oof, man.
Yeah,
I started out with Makers, and then I went from Makers to been drinking vodka all night, a little bit of champagne, and a couple beers. So I'm feeling pretty good, man.
Oh, nice.
It's been a celebration, so.
Good. So we're both feeling a good buzz.
I gotta say, man, it's been a privilege to get this drunk around white people.
Speaking of privilege, speaking of white
privilege, it's been my black privilege to be very drunk and belligerent around white people. But you know what?
Wait. So is it a white wedding?
No. Well, my brother's wife is she's mixed. She's half black, half white.
So there's some white people because of that. Because of the wife.
Yeah, so like.
Otherwise, it'd be completely black.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Just making sure. Because it matters. On this episode, it matters. No, it totally doesn't. It's a fucking wedding.
So I've heard. You know. But so we're talking about black privilege, yeah.
Yeah. So I talked to another comedian for about an hour, Joe. And he's half black, half white, so he sees it from both sides. And
man, he's
you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, Chisray. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so he often is on. I don't know, for some reason he just always says shit that I agree with, and so we have pretty much the same beliefs and the same opinions on everything. So that means he's white.
I mean, like being mixed is a lot like being a Jew, bro. It's like,
oh yeah.
I mean, technically you white, but like when the chips fall where they made, they'll kill you. You know what I mean?
I mean, exactly. You're right. Because of course,
I got a son who's half black, so I talked to him about being black, but I really can't relate to him because he's mixed. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
He's got, you know what I'm saying, like. He's got the best of both worlds and the worst of both worlds. So it's like he's trying to figure it out for himself because I really can't help him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like this last caller, he has white opinions, but yeah, he still looks not white. So he would have to deal with whatever's coming up. If white supremacy wins, he's still fucked. Just because he's on my team doesn't mean I can.
I mean, they'll let him in the house.
Yeah,
they'll let him in the house.
That's
true. You know what I mean? Like he ain't at the table.
There's a hierarchy. That's true. There's a hierarchy. Even in slavery, there was a hierarchy. So you're right.
Yeah, I mean, like that's crazy to think about too. That like even like freaking slave owners were fucking their slaves, but their children had no place at their table, even though those were their kids because they were half black. That's fucking crazy.
That is crazy. I actually didn't know that. So. If you were a white slave owner and you had sex and kids with your slave, and your
children were still slaves, yeah, absolutely.
I did not know that.
They just worked in the house.
I mean, it makes sense.
You gotta think about it. Yeah, you gotta think about it. It's a ratio. You know what I'm saying? If at that time black people were considered 3/5 of a person, and you get a whole person, you're only looking at 1 2/5 of a person. You know what I'm saying?
So they took that literally. They were like, yeah, I could just fuck you, make more slaves, and it still doesn't count as a full person. It just counts as another
Which is weird because who has sex with people who they don't get, like, I mean, but I don't know. This is like totally off topic. But like that, I guess that plays into like why white people are into bestiality. You know what I'm saying?
That's what it sounds like.
Ain't no black folks. Yeah. Ain't no black folks having sex with their dogs or donkeys, but you hear about white people doing that shit all the time because they had sex with us and we weren't even considered whole people.
Isn't that
which
fucked
is
up?
Fucking wild.
But
why we're off topic. So
no, that's fine. I mean, yes, Southerners still get a rap for being into bestiality, and that probably stemmed from racist slave fuckers. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's
probably
weird,
predated
but I mean,
that. It's so crazy. It's fucked up.
Now, no problem. So, I mean, I don't know, like, when it comes to, like, the idea of, like, say, black privilege, I mean, I guess outside of, like, what's already been covered, like, really, for real, like, black, I mean, but I don't necessarily even know if it's a privilege real, because, like, as a black person, I get to say whatever the fuck I want, you know what I'm saying? But, like, I still have to deal with the consequences of saying the things that I say, because, like, I mean, even with my situation, with being a comedian in Chicago, I say the things that I say, but because I say the things that I say, like, I don't get booked on shit. So, like, I mean, is there really any privilege in the idea of, like, absolute free speech of a black person? I don't think so.
You're correct. I agree with you. It's certainly in the context of everything you said, and in the comedy community, you got lambasted. You got kind of annexed.
Yeah, I'm persona non grata, all because of, like, well, I mean, it's not all because of, like, the things that I've said. Most of it is, like, because of, like, well, you know, the whole thing about my business being put out in the street that had nothing to do with comedy. But again, that's also off topic.
Right.
But,
well,
I mean,
it's relevant if you want to talk about it, because you did go through that, and it doesn't have to be about the main topic. But
true. But we're talking. If we're staying on topic, talking about, like, the idea of black privilege, like, I'm not speaking for all black people, but I guess I could say that most black people would say, if there is such thing as black privilege, it is the idea that we can say whatever we want whenever we say it. You know, like, we can say nigga or nigger as freely as we want to, without any consequence. Nobody's gonna tell us we, like, shouldn't say it, except for, like, maybe older black people, you know, who, like, lived through, like, say, the Jim Crow era, because there are still a few of those people alive. Those would probably be, like, the people who would say we shouldn't be saying that thing. But anything other than that, man, like, nobody's really telling us that we can't say what we say. We just have to deal with I guess the only context I've never had the problem with, like, speaking how I speak until I was a comedian in Chicago. So, I mean, I guess the black privilege is a thing. I mean, but also, too, like, black privilege is a thing to an extent, because, I mean, I grew up in the hood, where it's, like, in Youngstown, Ohio, where it's predominantly black, and I could move about the city freely, but there were some white people where, like, if they came through, it's like, well, who the fuck is this person? But, like, they got a pass if they knew somebody who was cool. But otherwise, man, like, they would get into fights a lot and have to basically prove their worth, to be a part of this, kind of like, I guess, what OJ went through. You know what I'm saying? On some real shit. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, Eminem went through the same shit. Like, he basically had to deal with the fact that he was white in a mostly black space, which is, if you're in a mostly black space, then I guess there is, anytime that you're in a space where the people are the same as you predominantly, then you do have some sort of privilege, because it's a majority rules type thing.
That makes sense. The word majority, that's where I agree.
Yeah, I mean, majority. I mean, it's a law of nature. If majority rules, then it is what it is. Majority rules.
And if I'm being honest, the thing you said about hip hop, I think you mentioned Eminem getting into hip hop. That does make me feel not oppressed, but it makes me jealous that as a white guy, I have very little chance of getting anywhere as a rapper.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, like, literally, Eminem had to be the best to fit in, because like, he was in a predominantly black space. Like, hip hop is a black art form. Outside of, like, a lot of art forms in America that exist, but we know for sure that, like, hip hop is the most predominant black art form that there is.
Yeah.
And for him to be accepted, he literally had to be the best.
Right.
Like, say what you want about Eminem, but, like, I mean, most people would say Eminem is probably, like, one of the most lyrical rappers, like, in hip hop, period, point blank. And he had to prove himself to even get in. I mean, but, like, granted, I guess that also plays into white privilege too. But because he had to, like, work his way into the genre, you know what I'm saying, and get the acceptance from his peers who are black, like, once he got through, because he's white, then he was able to excel further than most black rappers who are in the game.
Yeah.
But
So it turned
if he
into
would've-
white privilege. It started
Yeah, I mean,
and I
it started
think
as black privilege, but once he got past like the trials per se,
yeah,
then the part of his whiteness took over,
right,
because now he looks like, I mean, let's be real, the majority of people in this country are Caucasian or white or whatever the fuck you want to call them, you know what I'm saying, people, they're fair skinned. So like, I mean, once he got through the I guess the wall of black privilege to assert himself as being accepting and being like of the culture, then once he was able to break out of like his peers, because regardless of what you say, man, like Eminem is one of the most respected MCs because he had to like struggle so hard. And I mean, and like if you say so, it's kind of like the same as O.J. Simpson and before he stabbed a white bitch. Like OJ broke through like his peers, bro. Like he was a black man who grew up in like the ghettos of fucking California, of in Los Angeles, California, and
then he
through adversity and trial, he made it through into like
one
this
of the
ideal
most famous and accepted, respected black celebrities.
Black people in the white community, yeah. Like he wasn't black, he was OJ.
That's why people they had to hang on to him when he got accused of the crime. They had to be like, oh no, we can't let him be a murderer. Like, I kind of get why people were resistant, because he was so...
I mean, and I'm being honest with you, man, I want to know his secrets, because how the fuck did he convince white people that he wasn't black, bro?
Exactly, that is...
White people fuck with O.J. Simpson hard, man. Totally. There's got to be some type of fucking...
So you're saying also...
got to be some type of...
Eminem probably, in the end, probably wouldn't have been as famous if he wasn't white.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, but he even said it in his own rhymes. Like, if he was black, he would have only sold half the records that he sold. Because the accessibility to, like, I mean, whiteness and blackness is its own commodity. You know what I'm saying?
I think like if it's relevant.
I mean, I guess you could say like black privilege is the idea that like we're more physically gifted than most people in this country. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's a number of reasons why that's so.
Physically,
granted,
so even women or just men? We're talking men.
No, the women too. I mean, a lot of the most dominant athletes in our country are all of African American descent.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Except for when it comes to like, say, soccer or whatever.
Figure skating
like,
or some
the WNBA is dominated by primarily black women.
Right.
The NBA is dominated by black men. The NFL, black men. The MLB, even though these people aren't African American, they're African Caribbean, so they're of some sort of African descent. You feel what I'm saying? So like when it comes to like the sports in this country, most of the people who are at the top of the echelon of their sports are people of my diaspora, you know what I mean? And that's cool. I mean, I guess you can, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily a privilege. I mean, but I guess it is a privilege if your genetics dictate that you're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I guess you could say the same thing about Jews. Jews are
they were taking it over there. Yeah, that's the beef stuff.
Does not sound like you're at a wedding. That's hilarious. There's like no background noise.
No, my sister-in-law. I'm outside.
Okay.
My sister-in-law. Some stuff said spilled on the ground. She was walking towards it. I didn't want her to get it on her dress and shit.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're a good guest of a wedding. It sounds like. Are you wearing a tuxedo?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll send you some pictures if you want. You know what I'm saying? Me and my brother, we did our thing. He got married, man. He's a full grown man. He owns a house. He you know what I'm saying? He freaking works and pays his taxes. He got kids. He's married now. Mm-hmm. He's like the ideal of like a male in America. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's a provider, caregiver, and it's pretty dope. I'm proud of him.
So at the end of the day, I don't know if I really believe in black privilege, unless we're just poking fun at it. Like you were saying, the language, like you're allowed to say certain words. I would also add on to that, we don't correct black people if they say something with poor grammar, incorrect grammar. We don't. It feels racist to correct them, but I don't think that's big privilege.
I don't know. I can say. I mean, me myself personally, I've never seen that to be true.
Which one?
Well, the correction of grammar.
Oh, we still do it.
I've said a lot of things like incorrectly.
Yeah.
And over the years, had people like,
okay.
When I say there, you mean there, like THEIR, like yeah, I guess, I don't know. You know, I spelled it THERE, whatever.
I guess you can't escape being corrected, but I feel like there's a difference. If you sound like you're talking in a certain way, like, that's just that's his part of his culture, so I'm not going to tell him that it's not how you do. I mean, it's fine. Like, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Which is funny when you think about it, especially in the terms of America, because I guess you can call it like black privilege for us to speak a certain way, but then also too, white people will correct us on how we speak certain words in our language.
Yeah.
But if they go to fucking English, they're saying the shit all wrong because they're not speaking English. They're speaking fucking American for real.
True.
So it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's a bastardization of the true language that we all share.
Yeah.
Like, most Americans don't fucking speak proper fucking English. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
They speak fucking retarded. If you're from the South or whatever, if you're white in America, nigga, you don't speak English. You speak fucking American.
And it's just a different, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a different dialect. Like, that's why it's not even it's not correct to correct it. Like, when someone says "ain't nobody," that's not worthy of being corrected because it's very short-handed for saying there is not anybody. Like, it's just an abbreviation.
Exactly. It's like nobody here is speaking the King's English. So why are we trying to correct people when they speak how they speak, which is weird to me?
Yeah.
But
it's a dumb example. I don't like. That's just one of the like we talked about how like affirmative action, like that's based on not just race. Somebody corrected me in the comments. They're like, affirmative action laws is it's based on race, gender, religion, disability.
Yeah, because you know what? When it comes to, if we're talking about
is being black a disability?
I mean, the people who benefit the most from affirmative action are white women. They're women. Yeah, because they're women, and somehow women are a minority, even though they're 50% of the population, which makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
You know
I do believe in female privilege. That's something we'll probably get into on the next episode. Is female privilege.
The privilege of you can talk shit to me all you want, but I can't punch you in the fucking face.
There's more examples of that than I think any other type of privilege. But hey, I'm not saying. I mean, we'll go into it. I might be wrong.
I mean, that's definitely a different topic. I mean, but again, we could also be wrong. But like from our perspective as males, how we perceive the privilege of women, and I feel like that's what privilege is. It's actually a perception of the people who are different from you, seeing how you move through this world. Because I believe that there is a male privilege. I believe that there is a female privilege. I believe that there's white privilege. I believe there's black privilege. Everybody has privilege, man. It depends on the situation that you're in. You know what I'm saying? Like privilege is a situational ideal. But the thing about white privilege in America is that the majority of the citizens in this country are white. So therefore, that is the dominant privilege that is perceived through this country.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying?
Especially white women.
You can't. Yeah. I mean, of course, like being. I would say being a woman has more privilege than being a male, solely off the fact that like you can't get, like, as a man you can't get physical with women unless you're a piece of shit. Even though if they were men going about the way that they go about things in this world with their passive aggressiveness and like say some of the language that they use towards us, that would be a line for us to like, you know, get into a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, men don't speak to each other in a certain way because we know if I cross this line, then you're gonna get your ass. We gotta fight, bro. You gotta put your hands up. Right. Somebody's gonna get their ass whooped. Hopefully, it ain't you for talking sideways. Whereas when it comes to men and women's relationships, women can talk sideways in a context where if they were a man, it would be a fight. But because they are quote unquote the fairer sex, then you can't engage with them in that type of way because they are quote unquote the fair sex. They're on average weaker than us, so you can't. I mean, but like also
Absolutely.
too, that doesn't necessarily matter as well because I mean, like we're both men and you're a smaller man than me, but like say if ever you like quote unquote got out of pocket with me and I punched you in the face, nobody's gonna fucking say like, oh man, he's a weaker man than you. You shouldn't put you like no, you're a man, so therefore like I'm justified in accosting you in a sense,
Right.
which kind of makes no sense because like I mean if fucking Dwayne the Rock Johnson fucking if I decided I wanted to get like loud with him and belligerent and come at him, if he fucking knocked my block off my fucking shoulders, nobody's gonna fucking come at him like, hey man, he's a weaker man than you. You're a piece of shit for putting your hands on that man. It's like, no, we're men, bro. And that's the base level. Because, like, at the end of the day, man, there really is no privilege, man. It's all fucking relative, for real. Like,
For real, I agree.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm black, but there's also, like, I'm 5'9", and I weigh a certain way. So, like, I have more privilege than, say, some other people who are also male, who may be shorter than me, or, like, fatter than me, or maybe uglier, or whatever, man. Like, there are people who are way more attractive than me, and, like, also the fact that I'm black, man, like, people who are fairer skinned have a privilege over me because I'm dark skinned in America, fucking, not even in America, in the world, if you're of darker skin, then you're at a lower class, period, man. Like, even in fucking China, bro.
Yeah,
like, people in Tibet, they're darker skinned Asian,
I've heard
and they
that.
get fucking shit on.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
fucking people in Cambodia get shit on because they're darker skinned. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no, like, this shit plays out through...
What causes that? Why is it that melanin turns into hate? Do you have any idea?
If I had to guess, I mean, it's because, like, I don't know, man. I have a theory, and my theory is this, man. So I believe that all religion stems from the worship of the sun, and the people who have more melanin are quote unquote closer to God because we're able to stand in the light of God, i.e. the sun, and without any repercussions. Whereas people who are fair skinned, if you're standing in the sun too long, aka the fucking light of God, there are consequences. You're gonna fucking burn out there, dude. It's actually harmful for you to be out in that. And I don't know, maybe there's some sort of jealousy to that fact. I mean, again, this is just like a fucking theory that I've had in my head. I'm not saying it's true, but I mean, I think that's what it may come from, man. It's like I don't know if you have siblings, but I do. I know for a fact that I am my mother's favorite child because I've never been to jail. I've never really given her any problems. I am the one who is like doing the best in life. You know what I'm saying? And my other siblings has been a headache for my mother, but I'm the favorite. You feel what I'm saying? Now, like because of that, you know what I'm saying? Like my siblings don't feel a certain way towards me. They actually look up to me. But if they were to feel a certain way, they would be justified in feeling the way that they feel because they don't get the same sort of love that I get. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not that we're necessarily getting any more or less love. It's just that, like, I'm favored more.
So you're saying the whole racism thing, the whole colorism thing is based on jealousy? That's your theory? It's your hypothesis?
I mean, it's a theory. I'm not saying I'm right.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it to put a button on it.
But also, too, when you think about it, man, like, the only reason why I'm dark-skinned is because I call it the toast theory. You feel me?
Okay.
The reason why toast it gets darker is because it's in the toaster longer. You know what I mean? And so therefore, the reason why I'm darker skinned is because my people have been on this planet longer than white people. You know what I mean? And
that makes you closer to God too.
Yeah. I've been closer to the source of life. We all know that the sun is the very essence of why everything is alive on this planet. And because my skin being darker, I've been in the life-giving essence, which is the sun on this planet longer than people who are of a fairer skin. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's fascinating and something to think about because, like, yeah, it touches on why the crux. I've never heard that.
Oh, nobody. It's trash.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's just a theory, man. I'm not saying I'm right, but it's kind of like an idea. I mean, because what else could it be? I mean, like we've all. I mean, I don't know, say you, but like I know a lot of families where there's the sibling who is the favorite, and like a lot of the other siblings don't necessarily like that person because they get all the favor. Like everything that they do in their parents' eyes is right and good, and everything that they do, even though they might not be doing anything bad, is like looked at as like pretty shitty. So therefore, they kind of like get upset, and some of them like try to sabotage what their siblings who are doing better than them are doing. And I mean, I'm not saying that white people are jealous of black people, but also too, man, like ain't a lot of black people fucking doing a lot of like the cool, like human, like being good at your job and everything is cool, but that's not an aspect of what a human is. Like being a human is more of a physical aspect. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to run faster, jump higher, and do all the crazy things that we see in sports. It's like the essence of what it is to be a human because we live in our bodies. And on average, we notice that people of darker skin are better at the physical attributes of life. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I mean, that's true that they tend to be. If you're from that descent, you tend to have bigger muscle. Like you tend to be taller. I don't know. There's obviously physical attributes that come from that genetic background, but I just think it's interesting.
I mean, but everything I could be saying could also be like full of shit, and like I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about.
I mean, it's a very spiritualistic idea to say that, well, literally we're closer to this, we had more exposure to the sun, and that's basically the same as being closer to God. And it makes me wonder, then that makes sense, because if you're away from the sun, you tend to be more depressed. You need the vitamin D. Like these people from these Irish Catholics who are very white, they're known to be depressed and repressed, and they hate themselves, and they have shame. And yeah, it's because literally they have no melanin. They're literally not exposed to God. I don't know. That definitely is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because I've noticed that like fucking not too many black people want to go to the fucking coldest regions of this planet, but everybody wants to go to the beach and be in the sun. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, not a lot of us can do that without repercussions. You know what I'm saying?
And you're saying instead of it being the worst thing to have to be dark skinned, you're saying that's actually the best thing, and that's why people are jealous.
Oh, bro, you can Google this right now, bro. You know that you can actually like extract melanin, and melanin is actually a more precious commodity than gold. If you
really?
No. Like I mean, I'm not joking. Like,
no,
bro,
I see. I got it. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, if you Google that, like, dude, melanin is actually worth more per gram than gold, bro. It's ridiculous.
What do they use it for?
Like, I don't know, man. Maybe like for like darkening agents or whatever. But like melanin is actually like a resource that you can like extract, and melanin is, I think, right now worth $380 per gram, and gold ain't worth that much, bro. It's worth way less.
Wow. Well, there's something to that. You definitely tapped into something fascinating that I would love to learn more about. And
hit you up on the I mean, I get with you. I'm gonna hit you up tomorrow, actually. All right. Anyway, have a good one. Be safe, all right? Enjoy it. You taking back? All right, my cousins are leaving and stuff like that.
Gotcha. They're leaving already? It's only 10 o'clock. Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, man, the wedding's been going on since like 4:30. We've been drinking since like 2.
Cool.
So it's been a long day.
I gotcha. Well, okay. I think we had a pretty good conversation. Is it cool for you?
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess the thesis of my argument, I'm joking. But I mean, I don't know, man. I honestly feel like that's what it is, man. Like, and maybe that's also like another thing that plays into it. Maybe like people figured out how much melanin is worth, like literally. outside of like just like the theoretical idea of how much is worth being able to be in the sun, but you can actually quantify it based on like our value system and the idea that like I'm a very dark skinned male. So like I got way more melanin than a lot of people. So like technically speaking, my body is worth way more than like fucking a lot of people.
Yeah.
But because I'm black.
Would
you know what I'm saying? And
that's a kind of like a superiority thing? Like, would you say it's more superior to be dark skinned as opposed to light skinned?
I wouldn't say it's anything being superior, because I don't really necessarily feel superior to anybody. Like there are white people who are like physically superior to me, but
Right.
like I mean I'm just dark skinned.
Gotcha.
Like I can just stand out in the sun a little bit longer than the majority of people in this country. And I don't know if that's something that, you know what I'm saying, we would want to like qualify per se, but it is what it is.
I mean, literally, you said it is worth money to sell melanin, so that sounds like, in that sense, monetarily, yes, it is superior to be dark-skinned.
I mean, but also, too, man, I'm not, like, trying to get any lighter, but most white people I know are, like, literally trying to tan and get darker.
Yeah, why would you? It sounds like you're fine the way you are. I don't see any negatives. We talked about positives. Of course, there's racism and colorism, but we already know that that's bullshit, so we don't have to. Yeah. If anything, it's better on a practical, like on a survivalist level. Even that's debatable.
I mean, but like, yeah, outside of like being in regions where it's like colder, like
right.
You don't see too many black people doing the polar plunge in January. You feel me? Like, I mean, there are drawbacks to being black. You know what I'm saying? Like being like I'm built for like the sun and the heat. You know what I'm saying? And white people are on average are built more towards being like in colder climates where there's not a lot of sunlight and it's very cold. Like I grew up in Ohio, man. I used to watch white people go outside in the middle of winter wearing shorts and hoodies.
Yeah, well, that's true. It. But I mean, yeah, I don't know what that is about that. But that's,
I mean, I guess you can call that white privilege, bro. They can stand out in the fucking cold without freezing to death. Nigga, I gotta worry about sickle cell. I mean, I ain't got sickle cell, but
that's true.
I mean, but it is a factor for sure.
Sounds good. Is it cool if we wrap it up just because I have to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, man. I'm actually about to go back inside and hang out with the rest of my family, man. And
cool.
Because it's winding down, so I gotta get back in there. But hey, man, it was good talking.
Thanks for making some time. Yeah, thanks for calling in, dude.
Yeah, no problem, man. It was a pretty good conversation, man.
Yeah.
You enjoy the rest of your night, dude.
Oh, man, I love doing this podcast, dude. Anyway, tonight, we learned a lot about black privilege. I don't know if we really figured out if it's real or not. I think I'll just let the listeners and viewers decide. You could make your own decision on whether black privilege is a thing or not. And this has been episode 10 of Scary Ideas.
The Sergeant at Arms will restore order.